All right, calling the meeting to order of the Castro Valley Unified School District Board of Education. And here we go. And approval of the agenda, please.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. And uh, um, Trustee, oh goodness gracious, Kuziak, thank you very much. Trustee Kuziak,
Yes.
Trustee Howard,
Yes.
Trustee Raymond.
Yes.
I will also vote yes, and that will make 4-0. All right, we are calling to open session for the Castro Valley Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We did not take any action in closed session. We are now going to have our mission statement read by Vice President Raymond.
Okay, good evening. All right. We work together to provide safe, challenging, innovative, and culturally responsive learning environments to ensure that all our students feel respected and supported to achieve their unique academic potential and explore their individual talents.
Thank you. And now our public comment instructions by Trustee Whitaker.
The board respects and encourages the public to comment on matters on the board agenda and within the board's jurisdiction. The board fully supports civil discourse and requests that everyone respect each other and their point of view. Individuals who would like to address the board must complete a request to speak form or via the Google form and submit it prior to the start of the agenda item. At the discretion of the board president, speaker cards may be accepted after the start of the agenda item. Your name will be called and you will either come up to the podium to speak or unmuted during your turn and be allowed to make public comments. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Individual speakers are asked to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes, unless the board decides otherwise. There are up to 30 minutes of public comment allowed on each agenda item. With board consensus, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed. This meeting is being recorded to prepare the official minutes. To comply with the Brown Act, the board may listen to comments from the speakers under public comment, but can neither discuss nor take action on the issues presented.
Thank you. We are now going to hear from our student board member, Scarlett Everson.
Okay, so First Creekside is having their welcome back assembly for their students on September 17th, which I'm helping my cheer team practice their performance for, so I'm excited for that personally. And then Chabot and Jensen are having their book fairs this week, I believe. Proctor's Science Night is tonight. I drove by and they had food trucks in one of their parking lots, so yeah. And then the Castro Valley High School homecoming parade is next Friday, and then throughout the week we're doing a toiletry and clothing drive. So if you have any of those things, feel free to drop them off that we're going to donate at the end of the week.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is Superintendent Rashici.
Presentation is coming up. Thank you, Ms. Kyer. So just a few things that I wanted to report on. We have been busy. Both board members and I have been visiting the PTAs, and I'm so impressed with with our PTAs, our PTOs, our parent clubs. They do so much work for our schools. It's really impressive, and the support that they give in so many different ways really makes our schools better schools. So that partnership continues to be incredibly important. Last week we visited CVE. Last night we visited Canyon, and over the next couple of weeks we'll visit with Powell and Stanton, and we'll get through all of the schools and their PTA meetings over the next couple of months. Lots of meeting and greeting with our community partners again in the thinking about all of the support that our partners support our schools with, from the Castro Valley Education Foundation, the Arts Foundation, our CV History Museum with Mr. Randy Vanderbilt, the Chamber of Commerce mixers, the Fall Festival this past weekend was amazing. So many different people showed up to our booth and all of the booths that were represented at the Fall Festival. It was really a successful event. And I met a lot of our community partners there. And then also we've met with the Alameda County Sheriff's Department this year. So just a lot of meetings and understanding all of the different supports that these partners do for our district. It continues to make our district the wonderful district that it is. Rotary presentations, we are just making presentation after presentation. Sharon Trukrantz made a presentation with the help of other staff members on school facilities and Measure G. Beth Cutter just yesterday did a presentation gave an update on the adult school. And next week, Doris De La Torre will be giving a presentation on our multilingual learners. And then in early mid-October, I'll be doing an overall presentation for the district. So we are just partners with Rotary, and I'm happy to share all the variety of things that we do in the district. Our annual part, hot off the presses, is if you go to our district website, click on About Our District, then you will see our 24-25 annual report from last year is ready to be consumed. We're really proud of all the work that we did last year, and our annual report captures a lot of that work. So we wanted folks to know about that. Other upcoming events, we wanted folks to know, we said this 2 weeks ago, we'll continue to make sure that people know about it. So the state of California through Assembly Bill 3216 is requiring every school district to adopt a policy that limits or prohibits the use of smartphones during the school day by July 1st. Our overall goal is really to develop a policy that balances the following things: instructional integrity, student well-being, family partnership, and then of course compliance with the law. Our first steps will be to do a lot of data gathering from our community, from our parents and caregivers, from our teachers and administrators, and of course from our students. So that'll be our first step. We'll be sending some information over the next couple of weeks out to the communities and to our educational partners and gathering feedback. So that's a first step there. People have all types of opinions about cell phone usage in schools. And so we really want to make sure that we're as comprehensive as we possibly can be with the first step of gathering some input from all the folks that this particular policy will touch. We have some upcoming events on September 17th, our next Parent Leadership Council. We have our first meeting of the year with our Padres Unidos. And then celebrating Nicoletta Dalby from Jensen as the part of our Teacher of the Year celebration that the Alameda County Office of Education hosts on September 25th. So we're excited about that. Wanted to make sure that folks continue to know that we look at our systems on a regular basis. And one of the things that we will continue to be looking at and have been looking at for the last 4 months, we have newly been designated by the state, it's a state level designation, to be significant disproportionality. And the way that happens is if over 3 years, if you've overqualified some student group, in this case, our Black African-American students for special education under the specific disability of other health impairment, that's what we have to work on. We're over-identifying Black students into special ed in that particular category. And we are also disproportional for our Black African-American students for suspension. So there's some work we have to do. And there's some work we have been doing over the last 4 months towards the end of last year and now continuing into the beginning of this year. We've done a deep data dive, both quantitative and qualitative. And we've hosted our first educational partners meeting, which was last week. And then we have at the upcoming board meeting on September 24th, now that we've had that first educational partners meeting, we will continue to update the board and give you the deep dive of information that we want to make sure that you stay updated on. So we'll do that on September 24th. And we will continue to update site leadership so they can inform our staff about our process and plan. So more to come on that, but we are just trying to be as transparent as we possibly can be about this is an area of work that we need to work on, and we'll work on it. Last but not least, I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that there was a school shooting today in Evergreen, Colorado. And we are certainly sending our thoughts and prayers to that community. And we just continue to remind our community that safety is our number one priority and that we will continue to do the professional development, the trainings with our staff to make sure that hopefully we never have to, but that we're as ready as we possibly can be for any type of emergency that comes our way. And I will also say that tomorrow is Patriots Day, formerly 9/11, where our flags will be flying, our flags at half-staff. So just wanted folks to make sure that we acknowledge that happened today. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next agenda item is going to be California School Employees Association, or CSEA. If Connie Hill or a representative from CSEA is here. Manuel online. All right, great, thank you.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Rishidzi. Just a quick review of what we have. So now that we're done with the health vote, we are looking forward to continuing with our contract negotiations. We also have our next meeting, our next chapter meeting next Thursday. And then also we are looking forward to the Hispanic Heritage Month coming up. And that's all we have for now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez Rodas. We would now hear from CVTA, Laura Sepulveda, or a representative. No? Okay. There isn't anybody today. Now, if we have anybody for a public comment for items not on the agenda. No. Okay, we are at number 8, consent agenda, which is an action item. I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, so, all right, do we have is there anything in here that? No, okay. So, student member, board member, your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And trustee Whitaker,
Yes.
trustee Kuziak,
Yes.
trustee Howard,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. I would also just like to mention, I was also going to mention that because it's the same day as my birthday, September 15th, that, Hispanic Heritage Month starts on September 15th, goes through October 15th. I always remember this month because it starts on my birthday, and we have lots of students and families who really enjoy this month, and it's really wonderful to see all of the celebrations, and I'm glad that we are celebrating this and adopting this resolution. Okay, so adopted the consent agenda. We are going to now go on to item 9A. This is EMC research polling results, and this is a presentation.
Yes, we do have a couple of presenters tonight, Charles Heath from Team Civics and Jessica Polsky-Sanchez from EMC Research to go over the polling results that happened a few weeks ago.
Good evening. I'm Charles Heath from Team Civics. We're the strategy and communications consultants. We work with lots of school districts to help them plan and prepare for local bond and tax elections. We were proud to be your consultants for the successful Measure G bond back in 2016. We have recently been working with staff to hear about all the wonderful things you've accomplished with Measure G, but also understand that you have many needs that still remain unmet. And so what we've done recently is conducted a survey among voters in your community to test the feasibility of potentially passing another bond measure to continue that good work. So what we're going to do tonight is Jessica is going to provide an overview of what we learned from the recent survey and some of our conclusions from that research. And then I'll come back at the end and talk a little bit about next steps and potential election opportunities. So, Jessica?
Thank you so much. Jessica Polsky-Sanchez with EMC Research. I'll share this summary of results of the recent poll of voters here in Castro Valley Unified School District. A few notes on the methodology, and then I'll share some key findings and takeaways, and then the more detailed poll results. So this is the results of a mixed mode survey. So that survey incorporated both live telephone interviews as well as online interviews that we achieved by sending text invitations as well as email invitations. We conducted this research mid-August, and we completed 400 interviews with likely voters here in the district. So the margin of error overall is plus or minus about 5 percentage points. So we want to keep that in mind as we look at the results. And then we also looked at the subset of results among likely June voters. So an overall sample of likely November 2026 voters, and then a subset of likely June 2026 voters. And so the margin of error among that subset is plus or minus 5.3 percentage points. We did provide interviewing both over the phone as well as online in both English and Chinese languages. And we have done polling here in the past. And so we have a couple of questions where you can see some comparisons over time. So as I mentioned, just a few key findings before we share more detail. We do see here in Castro Valley Unified School District that likely voters are feeling optimistic about the way things are going here in the local community. That said, they also expressed some anxiety about the economic future. When it comes to how they rate the school district, they give the district a positive grade overall. And they rate the district positively, especially on the quality of education provided, but also on maintaining buildings and grounds. We do see broad majorities of voters here indicating willingness to raise taxes if necessary to maintain high quality schools. And a majority also trusts the district to manage local tax revenue. When it comes to a potential bond measure, support in the poll overall is just above the 55% threshold that's needed to pass. And this is true among the overall sample of likely November 2026 voters, as well as likely June 2026 voters. And when it comes to the projects that they prioritize, we see that enhancing student safety, updating classrooms for science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as job training programs are among top priorities, voters' top priorities for bond revenue. So starting off here with this general question, do you think that things in the Castro Valley area are generally going in the right direction, or do you feel things have gotten pretty seriously off on the wrong track? And this is not related to schools or public education. It is just a question about how they feel things are going in the local community. And you can see 72% on the right-hand side say things are headed in the right direction, 25% things are off on the wrong track. That actually compares favorably to what we saw back in 2019 when 52% said things were headed in the right direction. So the local community feeling pretty good about how things are going. But then when we ask, thinking about the future, how do you expect economic conditions to be six months from now? You can see here that the majority, 57%, think that the economy is going to be at least somewhat worse. Only 15% see it getting better, and 28% think it's going to be about the same. This question shows awareness among voters of need for additional funding for the local schools. So you can see overall, we asked, would you say that public schools in the district have a great need for more money, some need, only a little need, or no real need for additional money? 17% see a great need, 53% some need, only 25% say little or no need. Awareness of need is greater among those voters who are also parents of current students attending the schools. And here we ask voters to grade the district, to give them a letter grade the same way a student would receive a letter grade in school. And so 23% give the district an A, 46% a B, and 20% a C, 7% a D or an F. So overwhelmingly positive grades given to the district. And this is pretty consistent over time with fewer voters saying they can't answer the question and more giving positive grades this time than what we've seen or what we saw back in 2019. And now when we ask voters to rate the overall quality of education, 79% rate it positively, only 18% negatively. And that compares to 70% positive and 21% negative back in 2019. So a little bit of improvement there. And when it comes to spending tax dollars wisely, 54% rate that positively, 42% negatively. So the ratio of positive to negative is also improved compared to 2019. And here we see a few questions that help us understand voter values around taxes and maintaining quality schools. We ask these three questions: do you agree or disagree? Maintaining the quality of our schools should be a top priority, even if it means raising taxes. The vast majority of voters actually agree with that question. 70% agree, 29% disagree. The Castro Valley Unified School District can be trusted to properly manage local tax revenue. 64% agree. We don't always see a majority trusting local government entities nowadays, so it's comforting to see a majority of voters here trusting the district to manage tax revenue properly. And then this last question: I would never vote for a tax increase no matter what the money raised would be used for. So that tries to get at this sort of anti-tax sentiment. And that's very low. Only 24% agree with that question. The vast majority, 75% disagree. Here you can see the results when we ask a potential bond measure. We presented the 75-word ballot question that asks if voters would vote yes or no if the election were held today to improve local school facilities, update classrooms and labs for science, technology, engineering, math, core academics, and career education and job training, improve school safety, replace and repair leaky roofs, heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing systems, and expand classrooms for growing enrollment, shall the district's measure be adopted. And you can see on the left-hand side, among the overall sample of likely general election voters, 59% either definitely or probably would vote yes. A total of 40% would definitely or probably vote no. Among that likely June subset, which is 77% of the overall sample, a very similar result with a total of 57% who say they would vote yes, 42% no. And so these results above the 55% threshold that is needed for passage, but right near that threshold when you factor in the margin of error. And on this slide, just showing how these results compare to what we've seen here in the district historically, both in poll results as well as election outcomes. So the poll results shown in the dark blue, election outcomes in green, looking at measure G and measure I. What you can see right away, it jumps out very consistent, strong support, both in polling and in elections. And we've seen, measures coming close to or passing historically at 59% support among respondents in this poll, or just a hair lower than what we've seen historically. These next couple of slides show what voters prioritize for potential bond expenditures. So potential components of a bond measure, and we asked about each of them separately, and we said on a 1 to 7 scale, where 1 is not at all important and 7 is extremely important, how would you rate each of them? And they were presented in a randomized order, but we've shown them here in order of highest portion, saying that this is extremely important, that intensity that's shown in the dark blue. And then we're also showing those 6s and 5s for a total on the right-hand side who consider each of these important to include in the measure. So rising to the top of the list, you can see is replacing or repairing leaky roofs, followed by improving student safety or improving school safety. You can see an asterisk next to those. Since they're very similar, we asked half of respondents about student safety, the other about school safety. You can see there's a little bit of a difference, but both of those high priorities for voters here. updating classrooms and labs for STEM, updating classrooms and labs for career education and job training. These are the highest priorities among the projects that we pulled. And then here, the second slide showing the remaining projects or components of a measure that we tested, all of them important to more than 55%, but with slightly lower intensity, meaning fewer saying that that's extremely important as you move down the list, but many of these still important to most voters. The next couple of slides show the results on message themes, so additional information about the benefits or the need for a bond measure. And we asked if each of these is a convincing or not convincing reason to support the measure. And so you can see all of the informational messages that we tested on this slide. The top informational messages, especially when we factor in the portion saying that it is very convincing. The top one surrounding the idea that the measure would qualify the district for up to 20 million in state matching funds that would otherwise go to other districts. 78% find that convincing, 40% very convincing. The oversight and fiscal accountability features, that's convincing to 74%, 40% very convincing. Maintaining up-to-date, high-quality public schools in order to maintain local property values and the quality of life in the community. That's convincing to 77%. And then also helping voters understand that some facilities in the district need upgrades and repairs to ensure safe and up-to-date learning environments. This is convincing to 77% of voters. Here on this slide, additional messages that were presented in the poll, and you can see again, most of these are convincing to the vast majority of voters with slightly lower intensity than the ones on the prior slide, yet still convincing reasons to support the measure, highlighting that this measure would provide locally controlled funding for schools that can't be touched by the state or federal government. 34% say that's very convincing. This measure would update classrooms and labs to meet standards for STEM, so graduates are well prepared for the future. That is convincing to more than 3/4. Expanding career education and job training programs, 81% consider that a convincing reason to support the measure. And then the safety features highlighted in this last one, 69% say that's a convincing reason to support the measure. So once this information about the potential components of the measure, as well as some of the benefits and information about the need for the measure had been presented, we asked voters again, okay, given what you've heard, now how would you vote for the measure? And it was presented to them in full in the survey again. And you can see here on the left-hand side that support went from initially 59% up to 65% with that additional information among the overall sample, and a similar pattern among the likely June subset, 64% support after that positive information. Then we offered some information that you might hear from an opponent of this measure. So just someone who might say, oh, now's not the time, the cost of living is high, the schools don't really need the funding. After we present that opposition argument, we do see a drop in support to right near the 55% threshold in both the overall and the likely June samples. And then we presented this last question that you can see in the gray box on this slide. It says, what if the proposed bond measure cost $40 instead of $60 per 100,000 of assessed value at a total of 162 million in bonds? And we wanted to see if that might demonstrate a higher support or show a jump in support for a lower cost bond measure. And we do see that reaction from voters. We go from that 54% low mark after an opposition statement to 63% support overall for this lower cost. So it does demonstrate that change in support with the presentation of a lower cost option. It demonstrates some possible cost sensitivity that a lower cost bond might be able to address. That just takes us to the end here and summarizing some conclusions, and then happy to answer any questions and hand it back to Charles. We do see most voters here in the district recognizing a need for additional funding for the schools. We see initial support for a bond measure right near the 55% threshold among both the overall likely November voters and the likely June voter subset. Additional information about the components as well as the need for the measure really resonates and leads to an increase in support, demonstrating that there might be a need to share additional information about what this measure would do and why it's necessary. So that leads us to the conclusion a measure is possible, not a given, but certainly possible for a 2026 ballot. And then we do see the fluctuation in support over the course of the poll, so showing a volatile environment. And given that, we think increasing awareness of the benefits of the measure, especially highlighting the benefits to repairing leaky roofs and improving student safety, as well as updating classrooms for STEM and job training, would be beneficial. So again, happy to answer questions about the poll, and I'll hand it to Charles or
Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Kuziak.
We may be here for a while. Thank you so much for this information. I've a few questions. When you look at the data, I noticed in a lot of categories where it was sort of ambiguous, like, I don't know, that shrunk a lot compared to the last time this. Is that sort of an overall political environment thing? Like people are more sort of in their corners, or what was that all about?
That is exactly right. We're seeing this in polling across the state, that people are more in their corners, as you put it. On top of that, we've seen a little bit of an evolution in our methodology where we've gotten kind of better at getting more substantive responses through the multimodal methodology. But even among those who we are hearing from over the phone, which is consistent with older methodology, we are seeing kind of more polarized responses and people more able to weigh in on some of these issues where previously they might not really have been thinking about it. So it's what you mentioned, and also kind of better methodology that gets us more substantive responses.
See, I mean, we occasionally get our demographic report, right? And then we also see those reports that look at like the overall assessed value in Castro Valley. Castro Valley in 2016 versus Castro Valley now. It's a much richer community. It's also a much more diverse community as well, a different population. So I'm acknowledging that we're polling a different set of voters. What do you think that shift in demographics, what does that say for us if we were to go out into the public?
Yeah, I think the demographics here have always, well, we've seen consistent results over time in polling, but also among the kind of shifting demographics, the values of your electorate are around the need to maintain high quality schools. It seems like what we're hearing from voters and what we've historically heard is that they value high quality schools. They understand the need to invest in maintaining them. I think, the demographic changes simply reinforce some of those views.
I have one last question and then I have two comments. My last question is, as we are aware, the governor is going to ask us in November about what's up with redistricting. So how does that change June in terms of voter turnout? I mean, we have open primaries here. I don't know if it will be more partisan. You know, people sort of tried to hedge their bets on, is it going to be a more Democratic electorate, and how would that make you think about what you saw for June versus November?
It's a great segue. Do you want to take that one? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, we're going to have this special election this November that's going to determine the redistricting issue. That's going to kind of have impacts on the competitiveness of various congressional districts in California. I don't think it fundamentally changes anything here because we already have safe Democratic seats in this area. That's not going to change based on Prop 50. And sort of the partisan composition of turnout is almost always driven by what's at the top of the ticket, whether that be the presidential election or the gubernatorial election. And in 2026, we have an open governorship in California. Every poll that I see on the Democratic field of candidates says it's a wide open race where, undecided is beating all the current candidates. So it's kind of unclear, there's no obvious front runner. It's unclear what the composition of that, race will be when we get to next June. But, I were a betting person, I would say it's going to be a pretty, competitive primary, which will probably drive stronger Democratic turnout in the primary. So I think that's probably a net positive for school measures. The other thing that one of my conclusions when I look at this data is that, one, it's interesting. Here we are a decade after we were asking the same questions prior to putting Measure G on the ballot. And while there are some differences, given all the changes in the world between now and a decade ago, there's a pretty consistent response in terms of the value people are placing on local schools and their willingness to make investments in local schools. We're not seeing that everywhere. In a lot of places, we're seeing dramatic changes, and usually to the negative in terms of people's willingness to support. So you got kind of a stable base of support for your schools. But looking ahead at the June versus November election, we also have to take into account what else might be on that ballot and what kind of competition for tax dollars there might exist. And I think, many of us have heard, credible evidence that Hayward Area Recreation District is likely looking at some sort of a bond or tax proposal for the November 2026 ballot. Usually direct competition from another local agency will have the biggest impact on your measure, because there's just some voters that won't vote
fatigue.
yes on two, right? They'll vote yes on one, but not the other. So that's going to split that vote. So I think that's a compelling case for June. I think the impact of a competitive Democratic gubernatorial primary is a positive. I also think, you saw the economic anxiety that voters are expressing. Our crystal ball gets cloudier the further out we look, right?
Yeah.
And, next November, a year from now, will we be in a recession? I think it's anybody's guess, but, sooner there's probably less risk of kind of being deep in a recession. It sort of reminds me of 2008. We had, as the early signs of the Great Recession were starting to bubble up, we had clients that said, ooh, bad economy, we don't want to go now. But in the early phase of that economic downturn, voters were still in a good enough mood that they said yes. By the time we got to 2010 and we were in the midst of that economic recession, that was the bad election for bonds and taxes.
Yeah.
So I think sooner is probably better than later. So my advice to you on the timing is, let's move this along. There's enough support here to suggest we should be moving forward with some sort of a bond proposal. Let's move on the timeline that keeps the June election available to us. We don't have to make that final decision until essentially February of next year. We live in such a volatile environment. Let's see how things evolve. And then we'll make a decision around, the first of the year. Is this definitely a go or a no-go, right? But if we don't start that planning process now, we won't be ready to make that jump in June if it seems like the right time.
Sorry, I do have one more question, but it's for Susie. When you look at those numbers, right, we were looking at 162 or 220 something. Do you think we could credibly say, we can turn that 162 into 250? You know what I mean? Like in terms of like our matching, is there a way to look at maybe our dollars for Measure G to say we got $123 million from the taxpayers, but then we got 60 million more? Could we do that type of analysis and that type of, to sort of speak to the multiplier effect?
Right. So it's actually, it was in the presentation, the additional $20 million.
Okay, that's in there.
So that is the, what we calculated that we would be, we would get as far as matching funds from the state. $20 million because of the eligibility, because it also depends on eligibility for each schools. So we've done a really good job with the matching funds from the state, and you've seen, we've reported that to you. And so with this additional funding, bond, if it goes through, then that at least 20 million we would get.
And like, I get the psychology of going over 200,000. So maybe the conversation is 195, but I'm also not necessarily scared of 200. But my two comments I just want to make. I have two comments, just two, and then I'll be done. I remember when we won Measure G that night, like I couldn't believe it. We got 70% of the vote. And it's like, why didn't we do a partial tax, right? Why didn't we ask for more? I don't doubt our ability to do it. So I'm a little scared going into this of like underestimating what we can achieve and telling a good story. And I think this district does a much better story than it did 10 years ago. And just saying what we do and how we did our investments. We did a great job documenting Measure G and the investments we made. And then my second comment that I wouldn't feel comfortable going forward with this unless we as a board have a better understanding of specific things. Like we've done some work, right? I know our facilities committee has done some work, but I go back to something that I think Charmaine was right. I don't think as a district we've thought about, she made some comment probably about 12 years ago as a meeting, Charmaine Banter, former member of the board. I don't think we've really looked at like our assets and our school sites. Are these the school sites we want? Are they the grade spans we want at them? As we go into this type of investment, I really want us to really think about that and think critically about our school sites. And I hope that we can, I mean, 200 whatever, I think we can actually do some big things. Like, I think we could actually, I don't know, maybe tear down that arts wing at the high school and really build one that's great for that matches the quality of our world-class programs there. But I hope going on the campaign trail, it can be less about, we're going to bring technology and specific examples. I want to like, we're going to build this, we're going to build that. So that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Raymond.
Hi, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you for the work that you guys have done. It's really helpful for me to kind of visualize where this could go. You have to forgive me though, because I don't understand the methodology really well. And so I have a couple questions about that. And then I have a couple questions about just kind of like the reasons for the bond and what may or may not be convincing. And I'm just curious, like, so why did we have a sample size of 400? Like, where does that number come from? And how is that representative of our demographics and our likely voters? And how does it translate into potential?
Sure thing. So a sample of 400 is very, very common for a district of this size. And you might see that it matches roughly the sample size that we've done previously for polling in this district. With scientific sampling, the way it works is you gather a demographically representative sample of voters, and we have the entire voter universe to pull from. So we know their demographics. And so we make sure that the randomly selected and representative sample that we gather is demographically representative of likely voters as a whole. And so because of that, because of the scientific methodology, we're able to generalize the results to the population within the margin of error of plus or minus 4.9 percentage points.
Okay. And so that 400, was it like, I guess, spread proportionally across the universe of likely voters by like party and et cetera? Okay. And then I'm sorry if I missed this, I apologize. So if maybe I didn't miss this, I just want to make sure I understand. So 400 interviews were actually conducted, or 400 people were reached out to?
That's the completed interviews, yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That helps me with that. And then I don't know. I feel a little concerned about the reasons that are being put out there as being the most convincing, such as leaky roofs being the most convincing reason. And I feel like this might be more of a comment, sort of dovetailing on Trustee Kuziak's comment about messaging. You know, if we're going to do this, we really, I think, have to have a very tight, clear like goal, you know, in mind. Like I've been in this seat for 3 years and I really haven't heard anything about leaky roofs. You know, I mean, that doesn't mean they don't exist. I just don't know if that's really like our primary issue here. And if we're really trying to raise this much money, I want to make sure that we have a very clear intention, you know, for it, or I think this won't work. That is my concern. I like it's good to see that, you know, the likelihood of success is over that threshold that's necessary, but it's not very far over it. And so that's kind of something that causes me some hesitancy. And not to say I would pull my support from moving forward. I just feel like we need to think about this and flesh it out a little bit. So that's all I have to say.
Trustee Whitaker.
Trustee Raymond, you make a good point. I do want to recognize the work that was already done by Susie's team, pulling parents, teachers, and with bucketing of things, and also what our research partners have also done in that space. Those determinations would need to be made by this board based on that information. So that polling is taking from that sample and that information that we've already reached out to our, community about. So it takes that bucketing and then it pulls those not vendors, sorry, our stakeholders based on that. So yes, you are correct. We as a board would need to make those determinations for that bond measure to go forward. So you are correct. Don't worry, we will make those determinations based on the great work that has been done by Susie and our partners
Yeah.
with really specific information, because we'll have to specify for the community so that they can make informed voting decisions.
I appreciate that reminder, because that is information yeah, that's absolutely true. And I apologize for having kind of like set it aside in my head. So that does, and obviously you're right. It's like, we're going to take everything we've got and assimilate it together.
Yeah, make informed decisions.
We're going to have Superintendent Rashichi, then Trustee Howard, then Trustee Kuziak.
And then I just wanted to ask Ms. Chan to talk a little bit about the master plan facilities plan, because I think that will actually give additional information about as part of our ongoing process.
Yes, so we've been doing the focus groups. This is really to prepare to update the facilities master plan. This is something that we're working on now, and we will bring to you for at the, I believe, a January presentation. And so that is all the work. So we've done a lot of focus groups in various areas. And so those have actually the last few weeks, and then we'll continue into the next week. And we will have preliminary results, and we have a list that we've shared with you in the past in previous presentations. And from those focus groups, we're actually gathering additional information that we would be compiling as part of that process, and then we'll present all of that to you. Yeah.
Trustee Howard.
Yeah, I'd just like to say ditto to what Lavender said a minute ago, and that is, these numbers, they're never going to be perfect because that's the way it is. And these numbers, I would say, are approximately as good as what they were for Measure G and Measure I at this point in the game. Measure I did get, 65% or something missed by a cat's whisker, and that was on a parcel tax we'd never done. So I think, I'm actually encouraged by the numbers rather than discouraged at all, certainly.
And Trustee Kuziak.
Yeah, I want to thank Trustee Howard, because I know when you think about the transition from Jim to Parveen, right? And one of the first things you all did, and that was important to you, was to really look at our facilities and making sure we have that plan in place. And I think about some of the engagement that the district did back then. It's so much more robust now. I think we have a better pulse about what those facilities needs are overall. I mean, there's just been a transformation in this district in how we do that. And I love that our leadership team has done that. So it makes me more optimistic about what we're able to do here. And I think we have a great body of work to look to, right? We can show the success of Measure G. Yeah, I just don't want it to be ambiguous. To your point, I think that was the challenge with Measure G. I think some of the messaging, we did really great though, right? I really want to be able to point to, we're going to build that. We're going to do this thing. And I think that we can do more than what we just did with 123. I know the inflation exists and it happens over 10 years, but it seems like with a bigger number, we could actually see some real physical things that we're building. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment that, this is a district of high integrity, and we are going to build and fix what it is that we really need to do. We're not going to just, maybe that was popular with the survey. That's not necessarily what we will do. We'll build and fix what we actually need in this district. That's what we do. I just wanted to mention that.
And maybe it's helpful for me.
And it might be the same thing.
Maybe it's
but-
helpful if I go through kind of the process and timeline.
Great, thank you.
We're on the front end of this process, right? We're not asking you tonight to put a bond measure on the back.
Right.
We're in early September. That decision will occur in February.
Right.
So really what we are here today is, as we've done with prior measures, things we do is we want to check in with the voters, make sure that even conceptually that a bond measure is in the cards, which it isn't always, especially in the current environment. So before we spend a bunch of time and money and energy on a bond measure, we want to know the viable path forward. But we also want to check in and say, well, what voters, what is your comfort level in terms of the cost and the size, and what types of projects do you prioritize? Now we know all of that. And as you're also going to your stakeholders and gathering information through focus groups about what are their priorities, then we have these data points that we can put together to actually form the proposal that's going to allow you to meet people's needs, but also address what your needs are, right? And so that's what we're going to be doing in the coming months, is taking these different data points together, putting together a bond proposal, and then bringing that back to you and making sure that represents your priorities as well. So the way that plays out is we've completed this initial feasibility assessment. Our recommendation tonight is, no, it's not perfect, but it's better than we're seeing in a lot of places. And districts win with these types of numbers all the time. So I see justification to say, let's keep the planning process going. So from here, what we have to do is start the education process in the community, so people are aware of what your need is, aware of what you did with Measure G, but also aware of the needs that still exist, right? So that they understand what this proposal is all about. As we're doing that and gathering information from the public, then we're also building the measure, right? And so what's going to come back to you ultimately for approval is in a resolution that calls for the election. It's going to have the ballot language in it, but it's also going to have the project list. And the project list, it appears in the ballot pamphlet that's made to voters. And it's a long list that shows here's everything that the district is eligible to spend bond money on. And ultimately, that's where we need to be able to reflect, here's what we intend to do with these dollars. And then the voters say yes or no to that, right? So that's the critical piece we have to build with input from all these different sources. And so the deadline to qualify for the June election is March 6th. So we have to have a board action before that. If on, whatever your last meeting is before March 6th, you say, yes, we want to call for this election, then we move into that independent campaign, right? And that's where the district can't use public resources to advocate for the passage of the measure. So at that point, the district steps into the background, and we have to have a community campaign step forward to go out and campaign and advocate for it. And I think, Michael, that's what you were referring to in terms of making sure we have a compelling message to arm our volunteers with, so they can go knock on doors and, sell this measure to the public. So that's what we're looking ahead at. And I think tonight we're just looking for, informal direction that looks good, keep planning.
Thank you for your presentation. It's really good. Thank you.
Oh, have we given that direction then? Have we informally? Yeah, but we can sort of say, hey, looks good, right? Yeah.
We
Okay,
have,
good.
we have, we
Wanna
have.
be sure.
A lot of direction, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, really, for your presentation. All righty then. We are going to go to 9B. This is an action item, intent to reappoint Personnel Commissioner Wilkerson. Yes,
Can't we just move it and do it because
move and do it. Yes.
because she's amazing?
No,
Yes,
we
she
can't.
is.
There has to be timelines set up, so we have to obey the timelines, otherwise be disqualified. And I also want to just acknowledge that Commissioner Tony Wilkerson is here in the audience, so we have to obey the laws.
Yes.
A little bit. Oh, didn't want to cross her on that.
So this is a voting action to make a public announcement that we have the intent to reappoint.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to do what you just said.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. And then, Trustee Whitaker
Yes.
and Trustee Kuziak,
Yes.
Trustee Howard,
Yes.
Trustee Raymond,
Yes.
and I also will very overwhelmingly say yes as well. So that is 5-0. Yes, Commissioner Wilkerson, we'll see you again soon. Yes, congratulations.
Is it too late to say something about that?
No, please.
I want to acknowledge her leadership in the past few years, as the commission really faced tragedy. Your know-how really got us through that. And I really appreciate that. It's clear that you've taken this and really become the expert in personnel commission stuff. And I think that's a wonderful know-how that we have. And I really appreciate everything you've done. And I know others on the board feel that way too.
I would be remiss to not say decades of support for the district and continued commitment to our community. Thank you.
Yes. And Trustee Howard?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that this is the first step of a fairly convoluted process. It always amazes me. It's back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, it works out in the end, but it just seems like it goes on for a long time.
Mhm.
But you've done it once or twice before, right?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Wilkerson. We are going to go now to 9C, staffing update for the 25-26 school year. This is a presentation.
Thank you, school board and executive cabinet and audience. This is just an overview of our staffing update for this school year. And I'm fortunate to have a colleague here, Dr. Justin Goshru, who earned his degree. So we are now branding ourselves as Dr. Squared. We're taking that on the road. So we really, a brief summary, if we gave you all the details, we would be here all night. And you might fall asleep also. We did not include any of the laws that we have to obey because then it would make a really long presentation. But we just want to give you the highlights of what the process starts with, the timeline, and then just certain key areas. So for example, this whole process starts in January and working with our leadership team, looking at special ed, looking with our site, what are we looking for next school year? In March, we attend a lot of job fairs. You know, go to Chico. We have our own. We felt, and we also see the most productive job fairs our own because we here and now with our own people here in the city as well in the area. We are able to really hone in on what their skills are, and they are a cultural add to our district. This was what we're also looking for. Fortunately, we embraced AB 2534, which has also helped us with the process of knowing what's the background of some of our candidates. And that's also one of the requirements to be part of one of our employees for the certificated side. We attend Alameda County Office Job Fair. Along with classified, we also prepare that part of as well with our SPED department with the paraprofessional staffing. In May, we also attend local library job fair. And then we also take a look at, have there been any changes with our staffing based on enrollment? And what does that look like for our students as well as for our staffing?
All right, and then the process continues all through the summer while others are on break. We are working hard to have the staffing in place to open school. So in June, we hosted our classified job fair. That was our focus was primarily on paraprofessional hiring for both special education programs and our general education programs, and then continuing to interview and select candidates. In July, our focus shifts. We're really working substitute hiring. So we're increasing our sub pools, as well as we're doing all of the different employee onboarding, because once we make a job offer, we still have to go through a lot of processes to make sure that everyone is cleared, that they have all their paperwork submitted so that they are ready to start school on the first day. We did our new certificated employee orientation then right at the end of July on July 31st.
So about a week and a half before school started, I walked into Dr. Rashichi's office, really proud, 12 years working in human resources. I told her, we are fully staffed for classroom support. And then the next day happens and life happens. I cherished in that one day. It was great. I wish you could have been there. It was a highlight of our career. But then after that, then we had some resignations. We had people rescind that they don't want to take our offer. We had retirements take place. So then we do our usual beginning of the school year scramble, not scrambled eggs, just a scramble. And it was, we are where we are now based on that. So, life happens with people and we have to take that in consideration. We get a lot of questions. Why did this happen? What has happened? It's human dynamics. It's just natural. It's part of the process. But I think the main point is how do we handle it and how do we come out of it?
So then in August, we continued with our second day of new certificated employee orientation. And then this year, Human Resources worked really hard in collaboration with the Special Education Department to do something new, which was we created a new Special Education Paraprofessional Training Day on August 5th. That Special Education Paraprofessionals, they're our largest group of classified employees. And so we developed a whole half-day training for them to really help do skill development on how do we support students on day one that are in our special education program. So it was a huge success and a great collaborative effort between Human Resources and special education. Now we're going to take a look at our substitute hiring. So in preparation for the school year, we hired an additional 27 classified substitutes, and we hired an additional 21 certificated substitutes. These are new substitutes to support students this school year.
As part of our teacher resident program, we also have our teacher resident sub in the classroom so we can pull our mentors out to get professional development. So they're in classroom subs. We also incorporate them as well. And then we have ongoing training for sub teaching as well as for long term, just to make sure that they're also in place of what they need to know to enter the classroom.
And then Human Resources is also responsible for hiring and clearing all of our athletic walk-on coaches that we have throughout the district that support our students in the 3 seasons of high school sports, the 4 seasons of middle school sports, and the 1 season of elementary sports. So we're involved in hiring and then also making sure that our coaches have all the necessary training and requirements that they need to support our students out on the field. So far this year, we've already cleared 48 athletic coaches and we're only into the first season of sports, so many more to come. So now we're going to take a look at our classified employees, right, who perform just such a wide variety of services across the district to keep our schools safe, clean, and open and serving students. So you can see some total hires here by position. We hired 2 new buildings and grounds workers, 2 new technology staff, 3 new office staff members, and then you see our largest group of paraprofessionals there, 11 new general education paraprofessionals, 10 mild mod, 6 new mod severe, and 1 new library assistant. So we've hired so far 35 new classified employees this school year. What's not on the slide is in addition to that, we have another 8 campus monitors that we've hired. Those are staff members that support students and supervise students during the lunchtime at our elementary and middle schools. And then we've had 6 classified team members earn promotions this school year. So, which is always a wonderful thing. We always try to encourage our employees to earn promotions and be able to serve the district and our students in new and exciting ways. And then, of course, many others that have been granted transfers. So maybe they are able to, they decided to apply for and were granted a transfer to a more preferred assignment, often with increased hours as well. So the other thing that we have been working on, Dr. Zamora and I, a few years ago, we wrote and the district was awarded a classified teacher credentialing grant. And this is a way to really help grow our own and harness the expertise that our classified employees have from all their years working with students and get them into teaching positions. So currently, I'm excited to share we have 5 of our classified employees who have been awarded grants. And the grants are to either complete your bachelor's degree and get a teaching credential, or if they already have their bachelor's degree, the grant will support them in earning their teaching credential. So we have 5 right now. 2 of them are getting their bachelor's degree, and then 3 of them are working on their credential. And then last year, 2 of our candidates that were awarded grants last year are now the teacher of record in classrooms. So, really, really excited about that and just really excited about the opportunity to grow our own.
So then Dr. Squared continue with the teacher resident grants. And we were really excited this year to also have 14 teacher residents be part of our program. And we've had about 6 hired as full-time teachers, so that's the program is working, as well as creating other teachers to go out into the rest of the state of California as well. As I mentioned previously, our teacher residency program is really robust and really powerful. And so not only are we giving a gift to ourselves, we're giving gifts to others to be part of this program. So our hired and as far as the certificated part of it, one of the areas that we really focus on is on the special ed. So I'm going about 4 areas down because I really want to highlight one of the goals for our district was to move from contracted work to actual employees. So this year we hired 8 speech language pathologists, which is amazing, not only for a school district, but to actually find 8 SLPs to be part of our employee staff, and also removing our contracts out so that we can now have more control of what services are being provided for our students. Of course, we also have the 26 elementary and 13 secondary teachers. We've also had the counselors and social workers and TOSAs. We've hired 2 TOSAs. We also have a student teacher, but along with the student teachers, one number that's not on here, we also have 11 interns. And interns provide a special service for us, and they in return get their credit to actually have hands experience to be part of the program so that they can get their credentialing as well. And then we also had 4 new leadership team members. One of them is here in our audience, Miss Christy Badia. She likes the public acknowledgement as much as we can give it to her. So we want to really thank our staff. This is really it's a small staff, but it's a very energetic staff, a lot of energy. And one of our own staff members here, Jennifer Tapia Smith, she's also really involved with the classified portion. And I think one of the areas that we also are really proud of is the bus drivers, because bus drivers are just unbelievable to find. Gosh, it's like squeezing blood out of a turnip sometimes. But she's been able to recruit and help that program get robust, along with about 20 van drivers.
Yes.
So it's an extensive program with a collaboration with business that Susie also led. She did not say, you better hire them. We worked together, very friendly. So it was really good. But I really want to thank our staff and Dr. Gosher, or part of Dr. Squared. Just roll off the tongue there. You'll get it by the end of the night. And last, the board has given us the directive to have a 2% increase in staff diversity by the end of this school year. So we'll come back at the end to see if we met that goal. Hopefully we will. I can say that from just looking at our staff right now, we really will probably even surpass that goal. And so we want to thank you for your time. And I'm not sure we have time for any questions, so just kidding.
Comment? Question? Yeah, Trustee Howard.
Thanks for that. That's maybe the best staffing report I think I've ever heard here. I mean, I don't know we've ever had one quite as complete that I can remember. Maybe my memory is going. That's another possibility, but nevertheless, it's really good. And every year I'm really amazed that you can actually fill the classrooms and so forth, because it's such a moving target on so many levels. How many students are we going to get, and of all the different kinds that we get, different grade levels and needs and so forth, and a Spanish language effort over at Van Noy and so forth. So it's just amazing to me that you can actually get them into the classroom. And I'm not surprised that your illusions were burst there and that one day. But thanks for all the hard work to your entire group and everything. It's terrific.
Thank you.
Good luck also.
Trustee Kuziak.
Yeah, 2 brief questions. I'm curious about substitutes. We don't seem to be in that post-pandemic substitute crisis anymore. What's up with that? Why is that?
One thing that I can probably point to is, unfortunately, the economy with other businesses, they are laying off people. So we're benefiting from that. Also, there's been that fear of COVID has disappeared. So people that were our substitutes are back to the workforce. I don't know if you have any other.
Yeah, just so, yeah, we've seen an increase in applicants, and I've actually gone from, days where we're really trying to find substitutes to actually fielding calls from substitutes complaining they don't have enough work. So we've really shifted there.
Wow.
That's great to hear. And, we still pay pretty well compared to surrounding districts, right? Yeah, we're good.
We're in the medium.
Okay. My second question is, I can think of one classified employee who I'd love to see become a teacher. What are the recruitment efforts? How is it self-nominated? Do people have conversations with them? How does that happen? How does that come across?
So all of the above. So we have definitely a lot of ambassadors for the program that are out there, talking with employees. And then every year we hold an information session. So we invite all the classified employees that are interested over to the adult school. I bring in partners from Cal State East Bay and from our teacher residency program, and we do a whole presentation about what it is, how do you apply, what is involved, and then anyone can apply for it. And typically, our partnership is with Cal State East Bay. So they have to be willing to enroll in Cal State East Bay to be eligible for the grant. And so typically we're looking for, the first qualified applicants who get in, typically. But we do have some kind of priority areas. We are prioritizing special education, math, science.
That's really great. I really have to commend you on two things, especially that is the ones going from classified to being credentialed, and the other one, eight speech and language pathologists. Wow, that is amazing. Okay, so really those two things, I especially, besides like having a day where you had it all filled. Yeah. Yes, the day of glory. All right. That was a really great report. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that fantastic report. All right. We are now at, let's see, 9D, approve personnel report.
I'll move that we approve the personnel report.
I'll second.
Okay. And then we'll go trustee Whitaker,
Yes.
trustee Kuziak,
Yes.
trustee Howard,
Yes.
trustee Raymond.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. So that's 5-0. We are now on a 9E, approve resolution 11-2526, designating certain general funds as committed fund balance for the 24-25 year.
Yes, this is a resolution for your approval. This is part of the 24-25 unaudited actuals and designating unrestricted funds such as supplemental funds, our Medi-Cal and sports camps totaling $2.1 million.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we approve this.
I second.
Okay, and then starting with trustee, it's funds, so money. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So student board member Emerson?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then trustee Whitaker,
Yes.
trustee Kuziak,
Yes.
trustee Howard,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
and then I will also vote yes, so that's 6-0. All right, now we have adopt resolution 12-2526, approving the 24-25 appropriations limitation, recalculation, and the 2025-26 estimated appropriations limitation calculation, or the GAN limit.
Same thing. This is also part of the 24-25 unaudited actuals that's required. So this is a resolution for your approval.
I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you please explain to a fifth grader what the GAN limit is? Because I don't think anyone in California, except for like 5 people, understands it.
So really the GAN limit, it restricts how school districts, including the California, spending. So basically, there's a cap. So the money that you receive, you can't spend way too much. So that is that's the limit. It's a calculation of all of the funds that we receive and the expenditures that we have limiting us so we don't overspend in 1 year.
Thank you for that nice explanation. All right. All right. So we're going to start with Student Board Member Emerson.
Yes.
Yes. And then Trustee Whitaker.
Yes.
And then Trustee Kuziak.
Yes.
Trustee Howard.
Yes.
Trustee Raymond. And I will also vote yes. So that is 6-0. We are now on 9G. Approve the certification of the 24-25 unaudited actuals. This is a presentation and then an action item.
Yes. So this is the purpose of the unaudited actuals is just for the public to know what unaudited actuals is. This is shows the detailed revenues and expenditures for the full fiscal year, including balances that is prepared and is due to the county on the 15th, September 15th. And so we'll start with the revenue. Again, this is, you've seen, you've adopted the 24-25 budget in June, and then reported changes, first interim, second interim, and now this is now the unaudited actuals. After this report, we have our auditors that will be coming in. They're already scheduled to come in a couple of weeks to review all the work that we've done. So starting with revenue, we the almost $9.7 million there for other local. We have the state at 9%, federal at 2%, and then of course, then the bulk of the funds that we receive is the local control funding formula of 72%. And I wanted to make sure that it's also important that we do the breakdown for the local control funding formula, how those funds are coming in. State aid puts in about 42% or 74 or $47 million. Local property taxes close to $39 million or 34%. And then of course, then we have the Education Protection Account Proposition 30/55 for 24%. So that's the makeup of the local control funding formula, which is 72% of our total general fund revenue. So the changes here, really this is comparing on estimated actuals that was part of the budget that you approved for 25-26. We have the estimated actual numbers there and also and then the unaudited actuals. You're seeing a small really variance for local control funding formula. This is related to a slight increase on the attendance. And so that is the almost $12,000 change there. So this is really what we want to see because we want to make sure that we do a really good projection on our local control funding formula. So then we can get the cash that we need right away. If we're somehow off, then we may not get the funds, actual cash in the correct fiscal year. So this is really good. Federal funds, you're seeing a change there, a reduction of almost $480,000, and that's not because we are losing money. It's just because the federal government, they have the way of if you receive the funds and you did not spend it, then you actually need to defer it, meaning we deduct it from our revenue, but then we can actually get those as carryover in the current year. So from prior year, we will be carrying those almost $480,000 in the current year. Other state funds of $1.9 million. You have heard about the teacher residency implementation grant. That's about $700,000. And then the classified summer employee assistance. This is for our classified employees. This is a match that is provided by the state. The state where if our classified employees that do not receive a paycheck in the summer, they can actually withhold a portion of their salary every month. The state will then match dollar for dollar if funds become available. So up to a dollar per match. There are times that depending on how many districts actually participate, because there is an amount set aside for this particular program. And every single year, we hear like sometime in the summer, in the spring, that it may not be $1, it may be 60 cents to $1, right, a match. But at the end of the fiscal year, we always hear that it's actually a dollar for dollar match. So this is a really good for our classified employees. And not a lot of districts, unfortunately, are participating, but we do the extra work to make sure that our classified employees do get that benefit from the state. And then, of course, then we have the expanded learning opportunity program, an increase there, and then other local programs, or revenue, I should say, an additional $2.4 million of local donations, interest, and also CalShape program. Under expenditures, the salary and benefits make up about close to 60. Sorry, I can't see that one. It's, I think it's 64. Thank you. Thank you. It's kind of blurry on my side. And then we have the services and other operating expenditures, capital outlay, and this is actually, this is probably better if we look at this one. So as expenditure changes from estimated actuals and audited again, salaries and benefits, you see about a $500,000 difference there. Books and supplies, it's a reduction, a change of almost 1.3. Services and other 1.4, and then capital outlay $2 million. So a change, a difference of $4.3 million. So we wanted to show you like a list of the changes, and that's by program. So a good example, if you look at salaries and benefits for $500,000 change, so that means that we didn't actually spend that $500,000 that we budgeted, we spent of $500,000 more than what we budgeted in salaries and benefits. And it could also be because of the, or not be, but that's part of that, the teacher residency grant. So when we received it, then those funds are actually being paid to the participants. So the stipends that they get. And so that is the $500,000. Where you see a negative there, which is really a change from $1.3 million in books and supplies. So that's a good example of showing that we actually spent less than what we budgeted. And that is because of there are certain programs that we can carry over. And so like the example of the Title I, Title II, Title III, there is a $191,000 change difference there. And then we have the pre-K planning. These are things that we carry over. So while we are a requirement when we get the grants and allocations from the state and the federal is that the total amount is we budget for the year. And then any funds that we don't spend, we carry over. And so that's why you're seeing a change there from the estimated actuals to unaudited actuals. So we don't lose those funds, we just get to carry them over. This is the components of 24-25 ending fund balance. So our ending balance for unrestricted is $9.3 million plus the restricted of $12.2 million, the total of $21.5. We do have the set aside of revolving cash stores legally restricted for $12.2 million. And then the resolution that you approved earlier, which is totaling $2.1 million for supplemental funds, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and the sports camps. So our total reserve for economic uncertainties is 4.12% or 6.8 as of 24-25 fiscal year. And then you see that the restricted funds of $12.2 million there. Here's the list of those. It's a long list, that's why it's actually listing it a smaller font, but So these are the programs that we do have a carryover. They are restricted in nature. And so the anti-bias education grant of $139,000, that's will be carried over in the current year. We have child nutrition, that funds that we received and will be spending in the current year. There are already plans. We've seen a list of things that are actually being, where the funds will be used. And then we have the special ed. Some of the programs do have some carryover. Some of them are SELPA. So it's our SELPA, since there was a SELPA AU, these are funds that belong to the SELPA. And then under the other restricted local, we also expanded that just to show you exactly what they're for. School athletics, which is really donations, the local donations from PTA, PFC, and then the Education Foundation, Arts Foundation, and all of that. That makes up the $12.2 million that you saw in the previous slide. For our other funds, this is their ending balance for each fund. So the Student Activity Special Reserve Fund, $472,000. This is all ASB funds, not just the high school. We also have the middle school that actually do have ASB funds. So this is all schools. And then adult school, their balance is $1.7 million. I do want to highlight this cafeteria special reserve because we've not seen this like every single year. I know this is it's a good thing, right? Compared to many years ago, compared to a few years ago when the general fund is contributing to help the cafeteria fund. So in this case, the last few years since the universal free meals, this is really coming in, and that's because of the meals that we're serving. And we can do really good things with the money that we are now getting and are saving. So you're right, capital improvements in the cafeteria, things that they need. Dishwasher replacements of all of those things. Those are things that we're looking at now.
May I just ask, with participation from our students, is it just going up every year a little bit more?
Yes, that's correct.
Do we have a sense of like 60% of all kids get lunch?
So I know we've looked at, we are now up to 55% on most of our school sites. And so I know that there's a goal to continue to increase that. One thing that's I can share with you every Thursdays, our Bami sandwiches, and also at the high school and the ribs on Thursdays. Yes. So yes. So it's very popular. So these are the things that our child nutrition department continues to look at to make sure that we do have good offerings to our students. And then the rest of the funds, we have capital funds and then self-insurance funds. These are all the funds, other funds that we've looked at and also closed for the 24-25 fiscal year. And then that's it. That is my presentation. And then do you have any questions?
Trustee Kuziak.
Yeah, my one additional question is simply the reserve at 4.12. Is that more than we thought it would be?
Slightly more. So we did.
Take it.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, about $300,000 more than what we anticipated. Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
I move approval of the unaudited actuals.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. All right, then we are going to start with Student Board Member Emerson. Yes. Okay, and Trustee Whitaker
Yes.
and Trustee Kuziak.
Yes.
Trustee Howard.
Yes.
Trustee Raymond.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. So that is 6-0. We are now at board member comments reports. Is there anything else you'd like to comment on, Trustee Emerson?
I wanted to say that with the addition or like with us working on homecoming, I'm advising our freshmen officers in our class, and it's given me a lot of excitement for the upcoming people who are going to be passing through the high school because they're so eager and just really excited about everything we're doing at the high school. And on top of that, I've also really been noticing that with my coaching at Creekside, we let current fifth graders try out when to be on a team when they're sixth graders, and they're just so eager to learn and so excited to be there, and so it's been giving me a lot of excitement. So
Nice. Trustee Whitaker.
So I'm back from vacation. Thank you for excusing my absence.
Welcome.
I was really excited to visit Independent Elementary on Monday. I got a little tour and I got to see the first graders, and they are adorable. It was really cute to see the different teachers teaching them about boundaries and, how to listen and the different ways that they did it. It was really adorable. So really appreciate Patrick Hansen-Smith for showing me around. And then I will be leaving again. My kid moved to New York, so I'm going to help them over the weekend, finish up some stuff, and then I go to Switzerland for work, and then I'll head to Berlin to visit my brother, and then I'll be back the evening of the 22nd.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Kuziak?
You can call me Michael Joe. That's what my mom used to call
Michael
me.
Joe?
My mom's family still calls me that. But
Might be better at that.
yeah. And it always is like, oh, why do you call me that? I'm never jealous of your world travels at all. So have a fun time.
I'll say hi to Berlin for you.
Oh.
Yeah. I think I've only done one thing in support of my role as a trustee. I went to our first football game where the school spirit was fantastic. I think I'll be there. Yeah. And our band is doing great. Our cheerleaders are doing fantastic as well. And our football team has a lot of opportunity for growth. It was really, it's always such a special community to be a part of with our Castro Valley High School community. I wanted to know, I went to a really fantastic conference that I think has intersectionality with what we do here. It was a Hispanic serving institution, research collaboration conference. And I was really blown away by some of the concepts we were talking about there. It reminded me of what we do at Castro Valley Unified. And in this context of building comunidad, and this notion of serviceness, like when we sort of meet the needs of our students, they're going to be successful. It's not just about having a diverse workforce or a diverse set of students. It's about, how are we going to help you to be successful? And that was just really inspiring, and just one of those aha moments of seeing that connection between what happens here and what happens in my professional life, which of course makes me sad when I reflect on actions taken by the Department of Education today on Hispanic serving institutions, and basically saying that they're not an appropriate thing to have. And in this moment that we find ourselves in, it's pretty sad. I do want to reflect on some things that have been happening. And I was thinking today with some of the headlines and just what's been happening lately in my own time, the past 10 years doing political stuff. I don't think anyone deserves to sort of die by a gunshot. And there's clearly a problem in our country that we are not, I think many of us are willing to face, but barriers are put in front of us in facing it. So, I mean, no one should be killed at a political rally. No one should be killed at mass. No one should be killed at a public school. And I think of my own experiences and my anxiety even coming here. I know we're just a local school board. We're just right here in Castro Valley. And the things that I've experienced over the years, what I would call a violent political culture that I do think does exist. And sometimes we don't see beyond sort of a binary. And it saddens me that it pushes people away from public service and being in these seats and standing up for their community. So I certainly hope that, I just certainly hope. That's all. I can only hope. So with that, that's all I got to say tonight.
Trustee Howard?
Just have a couple of things here. One is clearly last weekend was a fall festival and that went very well, I have to say. We're in the after action review stage right now, but that overall it went very, very well and we're pleased with it. We've had, as the superintendent said earlier, we've had two great talks at Rotary in the last 2 weeks, one from Sharon talking all about Measure G and the improvements. And just a couple of days ago, we had Beth over talking about the adult school. Those are both really, really well received. And we are looking forward to having our superintendent in mid-October. So that'll be a good one to also, I'm sure. And I did go to the ribbon cutting up at the Castro Valley Sanitary District today, and that went very well. The building looks great. They're partially moved in. Their parking lot is not paved. They don't have an elevator in yet that's been approved. But beyond that, they're doing very well. And the building is really attractive. And as a friend of mine said, one of the really great things about it is when you're coming into Castro Valley from that end of town, that area of blight that had been there for years is now a very attractive scene for visitors to our community. And so that's a great step forward. We need all of that we can get. So thanks very much. That's all I have.
Trustee Raymond.
Okay, so let's see. In the last couple of weeks, I've been over to ROP. We had a good meeting, but I apologize, I forgot my notes at home about things that are going on there, but things are clicking along. One interesting thing that's happening there right now is that we are going through a process of updating the bylaws for that board so that we can have student board members on the ROP board. And the plan right now is to have two, which I think is going to be great. So really looking forward to that student input is always so wonderful to hear. So thank you for that. Let's see, I went to the Canyon PTA meeting last night. Always nice to hear or see our parent communities. Spent some time at the Fall Festival and district booth talking about facilities improvements and handing out lots of flyers about subs and different jobs that we're hiring for. And people are actually really like looking for jobs. So that was pretty, I think that hopefully something will come of that for both the job seekers and for us. The football home opener was really, really fun. Had a great time. I love the energy of all the students. I wasn't even paying attention to the game because it's so fun to watch the kids. And I'm looking forward to homecoming coming up. And then I also wanted to share just some thoughts that I've had on recent events, particularly events of today. So if you will bear with me for a moment here. Today, 3 students were shot at their school in Evergreen, Colorado. In a neighboring state, a man who has been instrumental in fomenting a culture of hatred, racism, misogyny, and violence was shot and killed. I am not going to say his name because while I acknowledge that no person should be lost to gun violence, this person has done tremendous damage to the cultural climate in this country through his constant stream of disinformation and flat-out lies. To speak his name honors him, even if there is no intent to do so. His death has eclipsed the news of what happened in Evergreen today. It has even eclipsed the fact that his own shooting took place on a college campus, making it a school shooting. Per Everytown for Gun Safety, as of August 30th, which was over 10 days ago, there had been 98 incidents of gunfire on school grounds in the US just this year, resulting in 31 deaths and 96 injuries. Today's incidents bring these numbers up. This does not happen anywhere else. It does not have to happen here. We've been ordered by the president to lower our flags to half-mast in honor of this person's death. It infuriates me to see that district policy requires our school to comply with this directive in light of the fact that every word out of his mouth stood in direct contrast to the culture of emotional and physical safety that we are trying to maintain and enhance here in Castro Valley. I'm really mad. When people see the flags tomorrow, I hope that they will think instead of every child that has been killed at a school. I hope that they will think of every teacher and staff member who has been killed while trying to protect a student. I hope that they will think of every child at Sandy Hook, all of which who should have been graduating from high school last year. Those are the lives that should be honored. Tomorrow is also the anniversary of 9/11 attacks, and I hope everyone who sees our flags will think of the true heroism that was on display that day. I hope that everyone will see our flags and think of the way all Americans came together in that moment, supported each other, and lifted each other up following that event. I hope that they then think about the America that they want to stand behind. I want to leave you with a quote from the person who was killed. He is known for having said, "I can't stand the word empathy. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term and does a lot of damage." I think we all know that I do not agree with that statement. I hope that none of you do. And I hope that we can all continue to stand for empathy.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm just going to mention a couple of things that I did. As usual, I met with Superintendent Rashichi, as I always do on the off weeks. I was able to go to Castro Valley Elementary. That was a really wonderful visit to their PTA, something like that. Yeah, that was it. And that was a really wonderful visit. Got to see a lot of parents there, spoke for, just a couple of minutes to the parents and whatnot. And I really love going to those meetings. The other thing I did was the Castro Valley Foundation meeting. You're going to have a presentation in October from that meeting with a new name and a lot of information about what the foundation is going to be about and, how that's all going to get started. That will be good. And then I was at the Castro Valley Fall Festival both on Saturday and Sunday. Really talked to a whole lot of voters about a lot of different things at a booth, and went to also a number of different booths and spoke to people. Did actually go over to the CVUSD booth also a couple of times because, of course, I know all the people there. And even, of course, the Rotary booth. I'm sorry I'm missing the people at Rotary on Tuesdays, but I'm working now on Tuesdays when those meetings are. I would love to be there when you are presenting and when Castro Valley is presenting. I really would love to be there. And normally I would be. So the Fall Festival was really wonderful. It was beautifully done, and the community really came out there and was really all together. And as usual, really a great festival and wonderful music, and people looked really happy, and we were lucky it didn't rain on those days. Okay. Let's see. And then so we have I think if there aren't any other comments, we are going to adjourn this meeting.